Fascicle 3, Chapter 10, The Buddha Accumulation of Fragrances. At this point, Sariputra thought to himself, "It is almost noon. What will all these bodhisattvas eat?" Then Vimalakirti, knowing his thoughts, said, "The Buddha has explained the 8 emancipations. You, sir, have accepted them as your practice. How can you mix up the desire for food and that of listening to the Dharma? If you wish to eat, then just wait a moment. I will provide you with an unprecedented meal." Then Vimalakirti entered into samadhi and, using his powers of numinous penetration, manifested to the great congregations that in the upper direction, past Buddha lands as numerous as the sands of 42 Ganges rivers, there was a country called Host of Fragrances, with a Buddha named Accumulation of Fragrances, who currently exists in that world. In comparison with the world systems of other Buddhas throughout the 10 directions, the fragrances experienced by the humans and gods of that country are supreme. In that land, the names Shravaka and Pratyeka Buddha do not exist. There is only the great congregation of pure bodhisattvas, for whom the Buddha explains the Dharma. In that world, all the buildings are made of fragrance. In doing walking meditation on that fragrant earth, the gardens are all fragrant. The fragrance of the food there circulates throughout the immeasurable worlds in the 10 directions. At that time, the Buddha and bodhisattvas in that country were just sitting together to eat. The gods in attendance in Vimalakirti's assembly all exclaimed at the ornament of fragrance, and they all generated the intention to achieve Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, making offerings to that Buddha and the bodhisattvas. Everyone in the great congregations in Vimalakirti's room saw this. At that time, Vimalakirti asked the congregation of bodhisattvas, "Sirs, who is able to go get food from that Buddha?" Through the influence of Manjushri's awesome numinous power, they all remained silent. Vimalakirti said, "Sir, are you not ashamed for this great congregation?" Manjushri said, "As the Buddha has said, one should not belittle those of little learning." At this, Vimalakirti, without rising from his seat, created by transformation a bodhisattva whose 32 primary characteristics and 80 subsidiary marks were radiantly bright, whose glorious presence was particularly excellent, surpassing all in the assembly. Vimalakirti announced to him, "Go to the world in the upper direction, where, separated from here by Buddha lands as numerous as the sands of 42 Ganges rivers, there is a country named Host of Fragrances. The Buddha of that country, named Accumulation of Fragrances, is just sitting down to eat with the bodhisattvas. Go there and say as I tell you," quote, "Vimalakirti bows his head to the feet of the world-honored one, and with great respect he inquires immeasurable times as to whether you might have some slight illness, some slight vexation, and whether your energies are at peace. He wishes to obtain the leftovers of the world-honored one's meal, which would be given to accomplish the Buddha's work in the Saha world. It will cause those who delight in inferior dharmas to disseminate the great path, and it will also cause the Tathagatas, that is, the Buddha Accumulation of Fragrances, reputation to be universally known." Then the conjured bodhisattva ascended to the upper direction in front of the assembly. The entire congregation saw him arrive at that Host of Fragrances world and worship at that Buddha's feet. They also heard him say, quote, "Vimalakirti bows his head to the feet of the world-honored one, and with great respect he inquires immeasurable times as to whether you might have some slight illness, some slight vexation, and whether your energies are at peace. He wishes to obtain the leftovers of the world-honored one's meal, which would be given to accomplish the Buddha's work in the Saha world." It will cause those who delight in inferior dharmas to disseminate the great path, and it will also cause the Tathagata's reputation to be universally known. When the great beings there saw the conjured bodhisattva, they exclaimed that it was unprecedented. Where has this superior person come from? Where is the Saha world? What does he mean, those who delight in inferior dharmas? So did they question the Buddha accumulation of fragrances, and that Buddha said, "In the lower direction, separated from here by Buddha lands as numerous as the sands of 42 Ganges rivers, is a world named Saha. The Buddha there is named Sakyamuni, who exists at present in an evil age of 5 corruptions. He extensively disseminates the teachings of the path in order to enlighten those who delight in inferior dharmas. One of his bodhisattvas is named Vimalakirti, who resides in the inconceivable emancipation and explains the dharma for the bodhisattvas of the Saha world. Therefore, he has sent this conjured bodhisattva here to praise my name and extol this land, so that those bodhisattvas will increase their merit." The bodhisattvas there said, "How was he able to create this conjured bodhisattva? How great are his powers of merit, fearlessness, and the bases of numinous power?" That Buddha said, "Vimalakirti's powers are extremely great. He sends transformations to all the 10 directions, where they carry out the Buddha's work and benefit sentient beings." Then Accumulation of Fragrances Tathagata gave his bowl with its host of fragrances and filled with fragrant food to the conjured bodhisattva. The 9 million bodhisattvas there then all spoke in unison, "We wish to proceed to the Saha world to make offerings to Sakyamuni Buddha. We also wish to see Vimalakirti and the other bodhisattva congregations." The Buddha said, "You may go. However, withdraw the fragrances of your bodies, so as not to cause the sentient beings there to generate thoughts of deluded attachment. Also, you should forsake your original forms, so as not to cause those seeking to become bodhisattvas in that country to be ashamed of themselves. In addition, you must not harbor feelings of belittlement or thoughts of the hindrances present in that world. Why? The countries of the 10 directions are all like space, that is, devoid of fixed reality. Furthermore, you should realize that the Buddhas do not completely manifest their pure lands solely in order to convert those who delight in inferior dharmas." Then, by means of the Buddha's awesome numinous penetrations and Vimalakirti's power, the conjured bodhisattva took the bowl and food, and, accompanied by those 9 million bodhisattvas, suddenly disappeared from that world. In an instant they arrived at Vimalakirti's house. Vimalakirti then created by transformation 9 million lion seats, excellently ornamented as before, and the bodhisattvas all sat upon them. The conjured bodhisattva gave the bowl full of fragrant food to Vimalakirti. The fragrance of the food wafted through Vaisali and the whole Trimegachilakasam. When the Brahmins and retired scholars of Vaisali smelled this fragrance, their bodies and minds were joyful, and they exclaimed at the unprecedented event. At this, Moon Canopy, the leader of the elders, followed by 84,000 people, came and entered Vimalakirti's house. Seeing that the room contained so many lion seats, which were so tall and broad, with excellent ornamentation, in great joy they all worshipped the congregation of bodhisattvas and great disciples, then stood to one side. The earth spirits, sky spirits, and gods of the desire and form realms, smelling this fragrance, also entered Vimalakirti's house. Then Vimalakirti said to Sariputra and the other great Shravakas, "Sirs, You may eat the Tathagata's food of the flavor of sweet dew, which is perfumed with the limitless intention of great compassion, and which will not be diminished by its consumption. Another Shravaka wondered, there is not much of this food, yet everyone in the great assembly is supposed to eat. The conjured Bodhisattva said, do not measure the limitless blessings and sagacity of the Tathagata with the small merit and small wisdom of a Shravaka. Even were the 4 seas to dry up, this food would not be exhausted. Even if everyone ate as much as Mount Sumeru for an entire kalpa, we would never be able to exhaust it. Why? That which is left over from the meal of someone who fully possesses the merits of morality, meditation, wisdom, sagacity, emancipation, and the vision and hearing of emancipation can never be exhausted. At this, the bowl of food satisfied all within the assembly, yet was unchanged and undepleted. The bodhisattvas, Shravakas, gods, and humans who ate this food became physically peaceful and happy, as if they were all bodhisattvas who take pleasure in ornamenting their Buddha countries. Also, their pores all exuded wondrous fragrances, just like the fragrances of the trees of the host of fragrances country. Vimalakirti then asked the bodhisattvas from the host of fragrances world, how does accumulation of fragrances Tathagata explain the Dharma? And those bodhisattvas said, in our land, the Tathagata explains the Dharma without words. He simply uses the hosts of fragrances to make the gods and humans enter the practice of the Vinaya. The bodhisattvas each sit beneath fragrant trees, smelling such wonderful fragrances, from which they attain the samadhi of the repository of all virtues. Those who attain this samadhi all become replete in the merits of the bodhisattva. Those bodhisattvas asked Vimalakirti, now, how does the world-honored one Sakyamuni explain the Dharma here? Vimalakirti said, the sentient beings of this land are obdurate and difficult to convert, and so the Buddha disciplines them by means of stern language. He says, these are the hells, these are the animals, and these are the hungry ghosts. These are the places of difficulty, and these are the places where the foolish are born. These are licentious practices of the body, and these are the retributions for licentious practices of the body. These are licentious practices of the mouth, and these are the retributions for licentious practices of the mouth. These are licentious practices of the mind, and these are the retributions for licentious practices of the mind. This is to kill sentient beings, and this is the retribution for killing sentient beings. This is to take what is not given, and this is the retribution for taking what is not given. This is licentiousness, and this is the retribution for licentiousness. This is false speech, and this is the retribution for false speech. This is slander, and this is the retribution for slander. This is defamation, and this is the retribution for defamation. This is meaningless speech, and this is the retribution for meaningless speech. These are desires and jealousy, and this is the retribution for desire and jealousy. These are anger and vexation, and this is the retribution for anger and vexation. These are heterodox views, and this is the retribution for heterodox views. This is parsimony, and this is the retribution for parsimony. This is immorality, or breaking the precepts, and this is the retribution for immorality. This is anger, and this is the retribution for anger. This is laziness, and this is the retribution for laziness. This is perturbation, and this is the retribution for perturbation. This is stupidity, and this is the retribution for stupidity. This is to be bound by the precepts, this is to maintain the precepts, and this is to transgress the precepts. This is what you should do, and this is what you should not do. These are hindrances, and these are not hindrances. These are transgressions, and these are not transgressions. That is, they transcend transgression. This is pure, and this is defiled. This is to have flaws, and this is to be flawless. This is the wrong path, and this is the correct path. This is the conditioned, and this is the unconditioned. This is worldly, and this is nirvana. Since the minds of people so difficult to convert are like monkeys, one must use several types of dharma to control their minds so that they can be disciplined. It is like elephants and horses, who are stubborn and uncontrollable, who can only be disciplined by making them suffer to the bone. Because the sentient beings of this world are obdurate like this, Sakyamuni uses all sorts of painfully strict language to get sentient beings to enter into the Vinaya. When those bodhisattvas heard this explanation, they all said, "How unprecedented!" Thus the world-honored one Sakyamuni Buddha conceals his immeasurable autonomous powers and uses that which is enjoyed by the poverty-stricken to save sentient beings. The bodhisattvas here are also able to labor and be humble, and it is with immeasurable great compassion that they have been born in this Buddha land. Vimalakirti said, "The bodhisattvas of this land are resolute in their compassion for the sentient beings here. Truly, it is as you have said. Thus, in a single lifetime, they benefit more sentient beings than you do in that country, that is, in the host of fragrances, in 100,000 kalpas of practices. Why? This Saha world has 10 excellent dharmas, or features, that are lacking in other pure lands. What are these 10? 1. The poor are attracted by charity. 2. The transgressors are attracted by pure precepts. 3. The angry are attracted by forbearance. 4. The lazy are attracted by exertion. 5. The perturbed are attracted by meditation. 6. The foolish are attracted by wisdom. 7. Those who experience the 8 difficulties are saved by explanation of how to eliminate difficulties. 8. Those who take pleasure in the Hinayana are saved by the teachings of the Mahayana. 9. Those without merit may be saved by the various good routes. And 10. The liberation of sentient beings is constantly being accomplished by means of the 4 attractions. These are the 10. Those bodhisattvas said, "How many dharmas do bodhisattvas have to accomplish in their flawless practice in this world to be born into a pure land?" Vimalakirti said, "Bodhisattvas accomplish 8 dharmas in their flawless practice in this world so as to be born in a pure land. What are the 8? 1. They benefit sentient beings without seeking recompense. 2. They experience various sufferings in place of all sentient beings. 3. They donate all the merit from their actions to others. 4. In humility and non-interference, they are even-minded toward all sentient beings. 5. They view other bodhisattvas as if they were Buddhas. 6. They hear and do not doubt sutras they have not heard before. 7. They do not become refractory toward Shravakas. And 8. They are not jealous of the offerings received by others, and do not become haughty over benefit to themselves. In these 8 dharmas, they discipline their minds, always reflecting on their own errors and not proclaiming the shortcomings of others, yet always single-mindedly seeking the various merits. These are the 8 dharmas. When Vimalakirti and Manjushri explained this Dharma to the great congregation, 100,000 gods and humans all generated the intention to achieve Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. And 10,000 bodhisattvas attained the forbearance of the non-arising of dharmas.